That's the kind of language which pushes men to suicide. It's SanctusTV, episode 20. We're doing a dual sort of performance here. We've got Facebook Live to the left, and obviously we're recording this. Today's a Q&A, so we've had loads of questions throughout the course of the week from our community, from people who follow Sanctus, basically about mental health and about Sanctus. So we're going to share those with you guys. Hopefully we're going to get some live questions at the same time from the people who are watching on Facebook right now, and then we'll answer them, and then we'll just see what happens, basically.
I'm excited.
First question, had this one on Instagram. It's from Andrew Moses. Do you think it is ever better to keep some things to yourself? Which I think is a great question, because obviously we're always about openness, transparency, authenticity, sharing things, and I think it's a good question, you know. Is there ever a time when you should bottle something up?
I think it's a personal one. I think it depends. Like for me personally, I like talking about things to my mum or to JMO or to Tash, but I don't tell everybody. So I think it's a very personal, subjective question. My only thing on it is that you don't have to tell everybody, but it's always better to share a problem with at least one person, if it is an issue. But that's just me.
I mean, I'd probably go as far as saying no. I don't think it's ever good to keep something to yourself forever. But because I think at the end of the day, things bottle up and they fester over time, and they can then become a big issue. I think it's always better to share your burden or your secret with someone, whether you do that with someone you know or someone that's implicated in the situation that you might be talking about. Then yeah, maybe it is best to keep yourself, but actually share it to like a professional. Go to speak to a therapist or a coach or someone impartial, or you know, anyone, because it's always better. I just think it's always better to say something. Feel better after.
And it depends on the thing as well, I'd say.
Yeah, but I think you should share it anywhere.
Yeah.
Whether you share it to someone who's a professional, like a therapist, or you go to Sanctus and you share it.
Yeah.
You know,
or to your mum.
Or to your mum.
Yeah.
And you might not have to say it to your girlfriend or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, always share is my opinion, but probably with a caveat of when the time is right, maybe, or when the environment is right.
To the right person, maybe.
I've got a very topical question next, though, which I think is a great question. It's from Josh Smithyman. I used to work with Josh, great guy, legend. I don't know if he's watching as well. So obviously this week in the news, Aaron Lennon has been detained under the Mental Health Act. He was kind of found on a motorway, apparently, in a really bad place. And the question was from Josh, basically. On the one hand, someone like Aaron Lennon at this time in his life obviously probably needs privacy, or he doesn't want to be under the public eye too much. It's probably not going to help where he is right now. But on the other hand, this kind of publicity that what's happened to him has been so good to help other people talk about whether they're suffering from mental health. So is it a good thing that what's happened to Aaron Lennon has had so much publicity?
Well, I know for a fact the hashtag mental health matters has been trending massively over the last couple of days as a result of Aaron Lennon. So it's become a trend that a lot of people are talking about, and it's a lot of people that are in sort of a male football sports demographic where mental health isn't usually associated with that. And the second thing is, following this sort of PR story around Aaron Lennon, there's been a piece that the PFA followed up on to say that there's actually a huge number of footballers that are struggling almost in silence through statistics that have been brought out this year. Right. So that's another sort of thing that as a result has come out of it. And for me, both of those two things are good things.
Yeah. I don't think it's good what's happening to Aaron Lennon right now. I think that he's obviously in a really difficult place, and I hope he's getting all the support that he needs. As a society in general, for this shift that needs to happen for people to start to open up about mental health, then yeah, it is a good thing.
Yeah.
Because more people are talking about it. Footballers are talking about footballers who are symbols of male success in the UK, let's be honest, are talking about it. You know, Andy Johnson used to play for Crystal Palace. Like, he said he's going to donate 10p for every retweet he gets for Mental Health Matters on Twitter. Like, that's really good. So the fact that we've got successful men,
influential people
talking about mental health, I think that's a really good thing, and you can only hope that Aaron Lennon gets the support that he needs, and he moves into a better place.
Yeah.
So yeah, I probably do think it's a good thing overall. That it's got the publicity that it deserves.
Yeah. Next question.
I had a question from someone in the London Startups group. Hi everybody in there. It's a tough one. What is Sanctus? I've Googled it and I've got to your website and I still don't know.
Big!
Yeah, it's the question that I ask myself every day. What on earth is Sanctus? So the short answer is, I think the answer for me at the moment is we are a mental health gym. You know, we create a space in businesses where people can go to talk about their mental health and fitness. That is what we are. Obviously, we'd like to think we're much more than that. We're a brand which is changing the perception of mental health. We've got SanctusTV, which is the voice of mental health. We tell a story about mental health. We raise awareness on it. We talk about mental fitness. We get people to focus on the positive side about mental health. But if you care about our actual product, what we do, then we create a space in businesses for people to talk about their personal mental health and mental fitness.
And the way we actually do that is we have a team of Sanctus coaches who are qualified coaches and also some of them are therapists. Almost like a personal trainer would for your physical fitness. A Sanctus coach is almost like a personal trainer for your mental fitness. So we are placing Sanctus coaches into businesses where anybody in that company can book in for a session with a Sanctus coach to talk about anything, to work on anything, to work through a problem, to overcome a challenge they may have, or to maybe get mentally fitter or stronger. So that's actually how we're doing it. So we've got a team of Sanctus coaches, personal trainers that we are growing, and then we've got a community of businesses that we work with that is also growing as well. So yeah, and we're 4 months in, it's April. I joined 4 months ago. The company started about 12 months ago.
Yeah.
But we've really only been working with businesses for the last sort of 6 months. So yeah.
Who's the question from?
Okay. Agat, hello. Do you think about ever expanding Sanctus's concept not only into businesses but also into schools and colleges? Could it become a goal in the next couple of months?
Yeah, it's the answer to that. You know, in our wildest dreams, we will do that one day. I think we need people to be thinking and talking about their mental health as early in their life as possible. So, getting sort of mental health on the curriculum at schools is going to be a big part of that. Can we do it in the next couple of months?
Yes.
Can we?
Yes, we've actually had a request to speak at a school assembly.
True, yeah.
At a primary school assembly. I know we're not going to roll that out and expand into schools, but we are going to do that. We're going to be speaking to 5 and 6 year olds about mental health and fitness, which I don't know how we're going to do that yet.
No, we will.
But I think in the long term, sort of our plan, we'd absolutely love to do that because I think that's where it starts, isn't it? On the education and awareness, and that starts at a young age.
But we want people working out their mental health at whatever, start working out early at school. You go to school at 10, 11, 12 and you start doing PE and you start learning about your physical health and you start playing football at lunchtime. Like, we want people talking about their mental health at lunchtime as well.
Well, the one thing we always say as well is like, you get physical education at school, you get PE, and there's no mental education or mental fitness at school. So why can't that change? Why can't we have that in the future? So we're going to try and push that as well.
We've got another question from LinkedIn. This person asked to be kept anonymous.
Yeah, fine.
Which is absolutely fine. It's a big old question, so I'm not going to answer all of it. Basically, how can society overcome the problem of discrimination in terms of mental health? So this person works in HR at a business, and the problem is that sometimes people come for a job, and if they've been found out they had a history of mental health issues, then they get discriminated against.
Right.
Which is a massive problem that I think we need to tackle, basically. But I would argue that problem comes from a lack of understanding and a lack of education. It's like discriminating against someone if they're fat, basically, or they've got a broken leg.
Yeah.
It's like saying you can't work here because you broke your leg, like walking down the road.
Yeah, very true.
So I would say the answer to that is there's no quick win, but it's education. I think the more people start to understand what mental health is, what mental illness is, what mental health issues are, what good mental health is, as soon as that education is transcends more people, then boom, hopefully we won't have that discrimination.
Did you talk about the Sheryl Sandberg thing last week?
I did in the last episode, yeah.
And I think that ties in because obviously she's a very influential person, extremely talented and amazing at what she does. Obviously suffering like from she's going through an extremely difficult time for the last few years and has mentally struggled. And Mark Zuckerberg could have easily discriminated against her and said, you know what, she's not fit to work and she can work somewhere else. But I think that shows like the future of leadership, the future of management, the future of where businesses need to be, is that when you have somebody that talented and that amazing at what they do, then you do whatever you can to keep them at your company selfishly and to help them thrive. And there's always going to be, you can't expect your workforce and your team to be at this level all the time. People are going to go through struggle. So if you want to play the long-term game as an employer, you have to understand that.
Keep hold of them.
From the very start, we're talking about hiring here and bringing people on all the way through.
Yeah. Have we got any more from the guys at Facebook?
Yes, we've got Kim would like to say, has asked,
can we talk about the dream?
The dream?
What I think the dream is like the big picture. Can you show them that?
There's the dream, the mental health gym on the high street. The day that somebody walks into a mental health gym on the high street and works out their mental health like they do their physical health, then the stigma is gone and we will be treating our mental health as we do our physical health. That is the dream.
We always talk about how Nike or brands like Nike have inspired millions and millions of people to be fitter. We're living through like the physically fittest generation of all time, and we want to be a brand like Nike that inspires people to be mentally fitter and not only change the perception but allows people to work on their mental fitness and talk about it. So yeah, a gym on the high street in the Nike of mental fitness.
Yes, definitely. I've got a great question from someone on LinkedIn, which I think loads and loads of people will be able to relate to. So basically, this girl's messaged me, and she really struggles with anxiety. Now, she especially struggles with anxiety when she's traveling. And that's a very specific scenario. We were all a bit different, so I might get anxious when I'm on the tube, or we're all just different, basically, is what I'm trying to say. And everyone's mental health is different. But her question is, how do I bring that up with my employer? Because she wants her employer to know that that this is part of her life, this is part of her life.
Yeah.
Basically, if there's a way that you work, or there's a part of your mental health that you want your employer to know about, how do you bring that up with them?
Well, why don't we take it back to when you were working in your last job?
Yeah.
How did you approach that situation?
Well, I didn't, because I didn't feel like I could. I think the thing that I would say in answer to that question is, you've got to start to explore your own mental health first. So you need to be really comfortable and confident that you know yourself quite well, I think, before you can then start to explain to other people how you operate. Mm-hmm. So I think now, I think I know myself a lot better than I did. So if I was going for another job, I'd like to think I'd be able to just have the confidence to sit down with my manager or my hiring manager, whoever, and say, look, this is my story really, and just be really, really honest. But admittedly, it takes a lot of confidence to get to that point. But I think having a frank and candid conversation with your team is going to be the only way you could do that.
And does it have to be, face to face, or do you wish you maybe sent an email or a text, or how do you create that conversation?
Ideally, I think looking back, I think I'd have made sure I was in a space where I was having a coffee with Doug or something, and I said, Doug, I'm not expecting anything of you.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't probably. Just know that this is how I feel.
Yeah.
Don't have to do anything, and I'm not putting pressure on you to look after me or mollycoddle me, and actually I don't even want that. I just want you to know and acknowledge that you've heard me and this is how I feel.
Yeah.
So I think by saying that, then at least you've been heard, and I think that's really, really important for anyone, to be honest. And that might not be anxiety. It might be, mate, at 5 o'clock, I'm just done. I can't work later than 5. I can't get in before 9 o'clock. I'm just too tired in the mornings. I want you to know that.
Yeah.
So that if I'm not here at 9, I don't want you to be pissed off at me. I just want you to know.
I still want to be here.
I love my job.
I'm just going through a different.
I can't get here before 9.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, and I think having that candid conversation is massive.
Yeah. And can we get the Sanctus logo back up?
Right, I'm going to jump into another question. It's a quick and easy one. Gracie from Instagram. Is Sanctus a religious organisation?
No.
No, it's not. Not laughing at that, but no, it's not. Obviously, the name has comes from Christianity. Sanctus is a Latin word which means holy or pure. It's also where the word sanctuary and sanctity is derived from, so I can understand why you think that. And in many ways, I suppose, the gyms that we want to put on the high street one day, we do see as like a sanctuary, you know.
And also, I think if you Google Sanctus right now, there is a lot of religious,
Sanctus Real is a very well-known hymn
on YouTube. Yeah. So we need to.
No, we're agnostic and accepting of all religions here at Sanctus.
100%.
Got another great question here. What more support do you think is needed for men in particular? This is from Katie Tipple. Her point being that, you know, women are more likely to chat to their friends or go to a yoga class. So what do you think is needed for us guys in particular? How are we going to talk? How are you going to get men talking about their mental health?
I think just trying to think of situations personally, like with my dad. So with my dad, the best conversations I have with my dad are probably when me and him, will go to the pub and over a beer, or go for a coffee, or it's basically we take the time to go and have a conversation, just us.
Yeah.
And there's no real agenda. It's not going to be about something specific, but because we've created that space, we then have like a really honest conversation. So I think, and it only happens when it's usually him that says, "Do you want to go for a pint?" And then we'll have a chat.
Yeah.
So I think every guy and every lad has a couple of really close mates or a group of close mates. So how can you consciously make an effort to say to your closest mates every now and again, do you want to just go, me and you, for a walk? Or do you want to go for a run? Or do you want to go for a coffee or a beer or watch the football in a one-to-one environment? Because when I look back on me and you, we're best mates. And when James was going through we both were going through the most difficult times, we wouldn't create that space.
No.
We'd avoid it.
Yeah, we would.
We would avoid having like a one-to-one chat because we knew it's going to be difficult. So don't be afraid of doing that, and make sure that you create it.
I think with us blokes, we're complex characters, aren't we? And I think men, I speak broadly here and I probably speak about myself, are proud. Proud, you know, chest out, you know, and have got this image of that's been pre-built in us of needing to be strong.
Yeah.
So I think to get more men talking, you know, mental health, if mental health is continuing to be seen as weak, then men in particular will not talk about mental health. Because they will not want to be, they're too proud to want to be associated with that. And there's still this need, or a perceived need, for men to be, you know, the hunters and gatherers and bring in the food. So when mental health is perceived as not something that's weak, but actually it's possibly even seen something as strong, and actually talking about things that are difficult is seen as really strong and brave and courageous, then you'll get more men talking. I think that's what needs to happen.
I'll be interested to see if like any lads watching or think there is a gender problem, because actually across the work we've done with Sanctus, we don't really see that. I don't think there is a huge
there's not a huge discrepancy in our numbers, is there?
In females using Sanctus and males using Sanctus.
I think people talk about there being a bigger problem in men. Personally disagree with that. I think there's a different problem. Men are different to women. That's fact. Like, we don't need to talk about that. Men are different to women, so mental health for a guy with testosterone and different pressures or whatever, societal pressures, how you manage your mental health and your pressures as a man are very different. Your pressures as a woman are completely different. And I think that's the case. Mental health is different for men and women. It's not harder for one and harder for another.
Exactly.
I disagree with that.
Exactly. James Mundy.
Come on, James.
So Piers Morgan has tweeted saying, "I'm not convinced by this new trend of male public soul bearing. Time for our gender to get a grip. Life's tough. Man up."
Woo! I mean, I can go for my instant reaction to that. Off Piers. I think that's the opposite of the kind of conversation that we need to be having, to be honest.
What does man up even mean?
I think that's the kind of language which I'm fuming. Which is dangerous. And I really mean dangerous. I mean, that's the kind of language which pushes men to suicide. suicide is the biggest killer of men under the age of 45, and language like man up, or you pussy, or gay, or you faggot is the kind of language which makes men not want to talk about their feelings and how they're struggling, and it pushes them to the brink of suicide. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. I'm furious. So that's what I think about that. I think it's a disgrace, and especially a disgrace when you're someone, for whatever reason, that holds a position where you've got millions and millions of followers. So to say something like that to your audience, you know, it's a disgrace.
I think he's a particular character. He's just fishing for a bite. Like he's got a bite out of
He's
you.
got a massive bite, but he should.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, people will read his tweet and
when you hold that position of influence, which he does, then you can't be saying stuff like that. It's genuinely dangerous. You know, and maybe we'll get to the point where one day mental health and bearing your soul, maybe we'll get to a point where one day it actually will be a bit like, oh, come on now, you're just jumping on the bandwagon. We're not there right now.
No.
We're not. When mental health is a mass market thing and people are bearing their soul constantly, just like people are constantly putting photos up of their apps, it's getting annoying. Then fair enough. Tweet that out.
That's a good point.
But right now,
it's
not fair to write that tweet. It really isn't, because we're as a society, we're not there yet. So thanks for putting that in.
Cheers, Monday.
Last question from LinkedIn from James Rutherford is basically saying, you know, work involves a lot of challenges and a lot of stresses, as we all know. What indicators can you look for if you or someone you know is basically looking pretty stressed?
I think you have to, especially people that are in your close network, your best friends, family, you know, as a good friend, if that person isn't quite themselves. I think that's the first thing to acknowledge. So you have to, I think a lot of the time you can almost see it as maybe they're having a bad day, so I won't dig. But if you see that as a recurring theme, maybe for a few days or a few weeks, it's yours. I think, looking back, it's your responsibility to ask the question, create the space, ask the question, are you okay?
Agreed,
and really mean it.
Agreed,
really ask it, and don't let them go, yeah, I'm all good. Really ask and say why that you've asked it. You know, I've noticed you've been coming in late each week,
I'm not
or you seem really tired for the last couple of weeks. There will be signs that you know as a good friend that isn't quite like that, isn't normal for that person.
No, George is absolutely bang on. I completely agree. I think that you nailed it at the start. If someone's not being themselves, and as someone's friend, you will notice that. And I think at that point, you know, there's no triggers of like, there's no maths to this. You can't say, oh, if someone comes in 15 minutes late for 3 days in a row, then there's a problem. You know, you've got to go off feel. And if you feel like someone is not being their self, then I think if you're a good friend to them, then, you know, you create a time in your diary or whatever it might be, beer, coffee, gym, walking, who knows, to really say and really mean it, you know, how are you? I've noticed this.
I think that makes a massive difference.
Huge difference.
Huge difference.
Because a lot of the time at work, especially at work, we don't have a genuine invitation to say how we really are. You get, you know, how are you, mate? Yeah, I had a good weekend.
How are you?
But when do we get asked, like, no, how are you? Like, really, like, how are you? I've noticed this about you. And I think when that starts happening, you give someone that space, you'd be very surprised at how much they'll open up, I think. So that's the answer to that. And that's it. That is Sanctus TV, episode 20 of our live Q&A. Thanks, everyone, for who's on Facebook right now. And this episode will be out Sunday night.
Boom!
Boom.